Software engineers absolutely suck at communication. There are some that are exceptions, but most are on that boat. And it's really hurting their career. Like, seriously, it's impacting their career on levels that they can't even comprehend. One of the most valuable things that you can have as a software engineer is the ability to communicate to non-technical people, but also to technical people. You have the key, the difference between a junior and an intermediate and then a senior level engineer. Like, from a technical sense, they're very similar. You know what? A junior, intermediate, senior, they can practically do very similar things. They can build a software system from scratch. They can pull integrations and APIs together and come up with a solution. They can convert business logic into automations. But here's the main difference between the three levels. A senior will be able to understand the requirements, even receiving communication. They'll be able to just generally understand better and come up with solutions better in their head on the fly. Whereas a junior, a lot of times they don't really understand instructions. They don't really know how to communicate what they're trying to do. They don't really know how to ask the right questions. And that also translates to their ability in Googling and ability in finding solutions, right? So communication and in general, like, soft skills are very much important as much as technical skills. And the most technical people aren't the ones making millions of dollars. It's just simply not true. The ones that are making millions of dollars, the ones that are making $200-300K a year in salary, the ones that are getting those massive stock options, those massive bonuses, these are the best communicators. These are the ones that are in the limelight, like they say. Limelight basically means, like, people know who you are, people see your face, you're constantly contributing in one way, shape, or form, not just in a technical sense. So let's deep dive into the common problems with weak communication skills, and let's try to find solutions on how we can improve as software engineers and become a bit better in our jobs. Yeah, so the first thing is being able to explain technical problems or technical situations to a non-technical person. Now, a good exercise that most people can do is try to explain cloud infrastructure to someone who's non-technical. Most of you just pause this video and figure out how you'd explain it, and then I will tell you how I would explain it to someone who's non-technical. Alright, so now that you've taken a second to think about how you explain it, here's how I would do it. Let's say I'm in the business of, starting my own restaurant and we sell apple pies. Well, one thing I can do to source those apples is build my own farm in my backyard, and I can grow my own apples. And growing apples is its own problem to solve. You need to figure out your farming situation, you need to water it, you need to figure out pests, you need to figure out quality assurance. There's a lot of things that goes into growing apples. And you do it yourself, which you by all means you can go make your own apple farm. Let's say you sell fish, you can create your own pond and then fish in your own area. But why would you do that? It doesn't make sense. The same concept with software engineering and the same concept with software development. Back then, most companies, when they would build software, they would also host their own apple farm. They wouldn't go to an existing apple farming solution and buy exactly how much they need. In fact, they would actually build up the infrastructure needed to support millions of users, but most of the time, their product wouldn't even have millions of users. So all this extra and unnecessary infrastructure that they've paid and invested in is not even used 90% of the time. So that's where cloud comes in. Cloud is essentially where you let the infrastructure specialists handle the infrastructure. So AWS, GCP, Azure, you let them create their software firms, you let them create their data centers and host your software. So you only pay for the amount of bandwidth, the amount of resources you use. So you only pay for the amount of apples you need to make your apple pie for that exact moment. That is essentially what the cloud is in a nutshell. It's just taking your data centers and instead of building it up from scratch, building up your own computer farm, you're letting other companies who are better suited and more specialized and have already solved that problem and have expertise, and you're letting them do the work and manage that farm for you, and you're only reaping the benefits. You're only taking the apples out when you need them. So that is an important skill to have. You need to be able to explain very complex topics and dumb it down into very simple situations and use anecdotes, use different stories, use different examples, metaphors, whatever it is. However you need, whatever tools you need to learn to be able to dumb those stories down, dumb those explanations down, That is important for you to have. So the second thing with the software engineers as a massive weakness, especially within the social aspect, is socializing. Software engineers love being locked in their room. They love staying in the dark and just coding away. But I hate to tell you, but you're not going to be earning millions of dollars doing that. Like, straight up, it's just not going to happen. The person who gets promoted is often not the best coder, and that's the truth. And that will always remain the truth. The person who gets promoted is a person who brings the best in others, who levels up the entire team. They already have a decent enough output. It doesn't necessarily need to be the top 1% in terms of output. But when you bring these guys on a team, or girls, when you bring them on a team, their baseline is here, but then they bring the team baseline even higher. Because they're motivating, they're passionate. They not only can break down technical problems into small, simple solutions for non-technical people to understand, but they generally are nice people to be around, and they generally have great communication skills, are very easy to talk to. You get very comfortable around them. Those are the types of people that get promoted, and those are the types of people that end up in management positions. So you need to really understand. Oftentimes you might be like, my manager's not even that good technically. That's fine. That is not a manager's job anyway. The manager's job is not to be technically good. The manager's job is to hire people smarter than him or her, and the manager's job is then to ensure that person's motivated and their trajectory is in the right direction. That's it. They literally don't even need to know how to code. In fact, I've seen some of the best CTOs, chief technical officers and directors. They don't even have a software engineering background. A lot of them come from product. A lot of them come from marketing. I've seen marketing people in chief technical officer positions. So it's quite interesting, actually. So first problem, explaining technical stuff to non-technical folks. Second problem, you generally want to be a person that people want to be around. You generally want to be a social bug. I know it's very hard. I know it's like some people are introverts by nature, but there are certain things you could do to make yourself more sociable and more approachable in general. By not being a dickhead is the most easiest one. You can be nicer in your conversation. Don't be judgmental. Be open. Compliment the other person. Give them positive labels and positively reinforce them. These are just small things that you can change, and you don't need to be an extrovert. You just need to change the way you think, and you just need to change some of your vocabulary. That's it. And the third thing is, most software engineers don't even ask for the promotion. They don't go out and tell their managers what they want. Oftentimes I see like managers scheduling one-on-ones and then ask them like, hey, is there anything I can do to help unblock you, support you? They're like, nah, I'm good. And then performance review comes around, they don't get much of a raise. They never asked for it. They just kind of expected the manager to recognize their talents and give them a raise. And I'm sorry, buddy, but that is not how the real world operates. No one will give you free handouts. No one will go out of their way to pay you extra for no reason. There might be exceptions. There might be like one or two of you who's watching who got promoted without even asking for it. But you always need to make it clear. You always need to say, this is where I want to be in 5 years. This is exactly what I'm going to do. And this is my expectation. So 5 years come around. You've already made it clear to them. If they haven't given you what you wanted, you have 1 foot out the door. And as you should. But most of the time, if you're as valuable as you think you are, they will give you what you want. But they don't know what you want. You cannot assume for them to assume what you want. That's just not how it works. You need to be clear, you need to be direct, you need to be precise. So those are the 3 things. Honestly, if you implement those 3 things, immediately you'll see improvement in just your interactions. Immediately by the next performance review, I guarantee you by the next performance review, if you improve on those 3 things, you will get an extra 5, 10,000, 20,000, depending on what pay scale you're at. This is percentage based, so if you're making like 60, 70,000, you do this, it might get an extra 5, 10 grand. If you're making 200,000, this might get you an extra 20 to 30 grand. I have used this 3 years, I have tripled my income, and I'm not saying I didn't start at like 20 grand and go to 60 grand. I'm talking like I tripled my income from like 80,000, more than that. But yeah, so you get my point. Anyways, I'm not gonna be more consistent. I'm probably lying through my teeth. The last video was posted almost 2 months ago, but I'll try to be more consistent. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope I have given you some new perspective, and I really, really, really encourage you to implement it right away. Anyways, thank you for watching. Peace.